At least now they tell
Okay.
you.
Yeah, kind of weird. All right, we're being recorded, so should we start?
Yeah, let's go live.
Okay, all right, so everybody, we started the recording, but it's gonna take a minute here, and we're gonna go live. Live on Facebook. So just give me a minute.
For anybody just coming on, we're going live and then we're going to introduce and go from there. We are recording this, so this will be available.
Great. You look all pretty in pink, Miss Kitty.
I'm clean.
Well, that's good. Did you let the dog lick you clean?
No, took the shower in the shower house, which is lake water, but it's warmed up, so
Okay.
you know, makes the hair curly. That's nice.
Yeah.
Got a fire going. We're expecting Elsa's supposed to be coming here at the end of it. It's just rained, so.
Any news on your house in Florida?
Everything was fine. We are live.
Yay!
It's working. Okay.
Streaming live on Facebook.
Yes.
I'll come back to it. Done.
Are we
Okay.
on our right page? Always do. Let me double
Yeah,
check.
on Intuition of the Soul. Hello,
Okay.
hello, hello. Yes, we are. We're on Intuition of the Soul.
I
Hey,
even got another.
everybody.
I see another
All right.
message says it's live.
We are
Okay.
live.
Women.
All right. Now, though, if you bear with me for just a moment, I have to make Margo the host so that she may
Share her screen.
share her screen. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
So while she's doing that, welcome everybody, Intuition of the Soul. We're here with Margo, who's going to talk to us about human design and how that works with our energy. And I'm very, very excited. TK to everyone, can't hear anything.
Who's that?
Someone just said they can't hear anything.
TK.
Then they have to make sure their microphone's working.
Yeah.
Because I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Anybody else having trouble? Let me see. TK. Allowed to record local, put in waiting room. No, we should be, TK, you should be fine. The rest of them, let's see, Susan's. There she goes.
Sorry, guys, we're just trying to get on. So if you're out there watching us live, just bear with us for a moment. We are trying to get situated so that Margo can share her screen. She's our host now. Welcome, Margo. I'm so excited to have you here. So excited for you to tell me about my chart. That's really exciting. And Kitty, I'm sure, is too. And just to tell us all about what you do, because it's so fascinating and it's all new to me. So I love to learn and I love to hear about this. So welcome.
Welcome everyone. Amy, are we on speaker highlight too?
I don't have any controls now because I gave it up to Margo.
You can put yourself on speaker highlight if you'd like. If not, we can all be together.
Okay, I have us on speaker view. Does that work?
Great. That's fine.
Okay, perfect.
So we record on both anyway. So if you do not want to be recorded, you want to turn your camera off. And hello to those joining us on Facebook. We will be posting this again. And let's let Margo introduce herself and talk to us. It's 8 o'clock. We make our commitment for the hour program. So yay.
Perfect.
Hey.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's so great to be here with you. I'm really honored to be here with Kitty and Amy today to talk about human design. And I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. So I have a master's degree in kinesiology, science of human movement. I'm Canadian, so I'm in Calgary, Canada. I went to school in Ontario though. And then over time, I did a number of different things. I worked for about 30 years in ergonomics, helping people at their workstations to set themselves up appropriately or in industry so that they wouldn't get hurt. And a lot of times when I went in though, you could tell that there was a bigger problem. right? It was something more on the spiritual end of things. And so I started pursuing this track, and along the way I ran into something called human design. And so I kind of had these parallel tracks of, whoop, there goes our dog. Learning about human design and learning about more about my intuition and opening that up through Academy for the Soul, where I'm a master teacher now. And yeah, it's not bringing me up here as the speaker, so I'm not sure what to.
Well, I think maybe if everybody would mute, maybe that would help so we don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a good idea. Yeah.
I just typed it in the chat too, so.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so so I've got this sort of parallel route that I was heading down and wondering, like, how do we understand our energetic wiring? And when I stumbled upon human design, I was like, oh my gosh, I had my first reading and I'm like, how do they know this about me? All these things. And human design is a system that pulls from the chakra, the Hindu chakra system. It pulls from the Jewish Kabbalah, it pulls from the Chinese I Ching, it pulls from astrology, quantum physics. It's not any of those, but it's a synthesis of all those things. And it gives you a map of your energetic wiring. So I'm just going to share my screen because I did the charts for Kitty and Amy. So you can let me know if you can see that, okay?
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and so you get this chart that's called a body graph. And it's showing you your energetic wiring. And I'll explain a little bit about this and why it's a little different. So this is like your genetic map, a blueprint of your genetic energetic wiring. And it helps to explain not only your natural characteristics and traits, what you transmit out into the world, but also what you take in, what you receive, and how mechanically your energy works. And so this body graph, you'll see that it has a black side and it has a red side. And can you guys see my mouse as I move it around the screen?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can.
Thanks. I can grab a highlighter if not. Maybe that's a good thing to do. Spotlight. Okay, here we go. So we've got these two sides, and this is the only system I know that uses two sets of calculations to find out your imprint. And so the red side is about your form, your body. And the black side is about your personality and the mind. And so your personality imprint, where were the planets? And it includes Earth, which is a little bit different than most astrology systems as well. But what was the neutrino stream? We know that the sun gives us about 90% of these neutrinos, this dark matter that comes through. And we've got about, oh gosh, it's about 3% coming from Jupiter as a failed star, and then the rest coming from other stars. And they're moving through the planets and they're picking up information, and then shoo, we get an imprint at the moment of birth. When that last little bit of the baby comes out of the mother, that's when the black imprint is made. 88 degrees before that, which is about 3 months, your form is imprinted. Choo-choo, here's your characteristics of your form. And now it's a bringing together. It's another place where there's a synthesis of the form. So we truly are consciousness in form, right? We talk about that a lot in the spiritual community. Well, here we can actually see the form side and the personality side, the mind side. And it's kind of like a forced marriage. The mind wants to run the show, right? We all know this, how our minds can make things up, and it wants to be in control. It wants to make the decisions, but we have all this information in the body as well. And when we allow them, when we can get them on the same team, let's say, instead of opposed to each other, we can really transmit what we are meant to transmit out into the world. We are all a piece of, you know, that cosmic fabric, and we all have a different quality in our design. it's rare to find two people that have the same imprint. Even twins, when you go deeper in their design, don't have often exactly the same imprint. And even if they did, you know, our eyes, even if we're beside each other, this person's eyes are taking a little bit different view than this person's eyes over here, right? So it's still going to be expressed in a little bit different way. And so one of the things that you'll see here is that there's 9 different centers. So this system came from an 8-day, 8-night download that a man named Ra Uru received in, I believe it was 1987. And it was not a pleasant experience for him. It was 8 days, 8 nights of like writing, you know, just getting all this information and then having to go out and explore it. Like, does this really work? And he kind of wrestled with it. Like, I don't even know if I want to put this out in the world, but he saw how impactful it was, and it got refined over time, and more information flowed to him and people could go out and experiment with it. So it's not a belief system, it's a mechanical system. It's the mechanics of how you operate. And it's something for you to experiment with if you feel drawn to it, if you feel called to it. So one piece of the information was that in 1781, which is when the discovery of Uranus occurred, is that there was a mutation that occurred, and we mutated from a 7-centered being, so the 7-centered chakra system, to being 9-centered. Now, a lot of people speculate about what broke off from, you know, was there a breaking off or was it a new mutation? He didn't get that information. So sometimes I hear people talking about, oh, you know, this center broke off from the heart center or whatever. We don't actually know that. That's just speculation. But in the end, we have these 9 centers. Some of them are named like the chakra system, but the definitions might be a little bit different. So the centers themselves, just like in the chakra system, they have certain frequencies, certain characteristics that they carry. And so there are four different motors, 4 areas of the body that are kind of motors that can produce energy. The main one is this red square, which is the sacral center, you know, same as in the chakra system, second up from the bottom. In human design, the sacral center is the workhorse motor. Anyone who has this defined in their chart, which is 66% of people, they are here to work, to do work that they love. And when they're not doing work they love, or they're not expressing their design, or not kind of following the mechanics of the design, they end up being frustrated. So if you find you're running into frustration a lot, yeah, it can be because of just not following the mechanics of your design. And so very powerful workhorse is associated with the generating life force energy, vitality, sexuality. Biologically, it's associated with the reproductive organs. So very powerful motor. It is not aware. It is just pumping out life force energy and has certain characteristics and qualities associated with it. One of the other motors is the root center. Now, this is different than in the chakra system, although we still talk about like the kundalini, the pressure, you know, of the energy to rise up, that the root center is associated with that in human design. At the same time, it's not so much about safety, security, you know, those types of things. It is, again, a motor, and it's a pressure center as well. It is the pressure to do. And so its biological correlation is the adrenals. Right? It's stress, it's pressure, that's its fuel, stress and adrenaline. So anyone that has it defined has a defined and reliable way to deal with stress. And when I say defined, it means it's colored in for them. It's got the color. If it's white, it's what we call undefined. But I'll just explain the motors to start with. The solar plexus center. In human design, the solar plexus center is the emotional center. We're in a darn emotional world, right? 50% of people have it defined and 50% of people have it open. And I'm going to explain a little bit later why there's so much emotionality in the world, what happens when it's open in someone. And so it's got a double function. It's both a motor, it generates that emotional wave. And there's 3 different types of emotional wave, but you know, we know, right? The ups and the downs of emotions, hope, to pain, right? Joy to despair. So it's always like doing this kind of thing. Underneath that, there is that emotional awareness, but it's hard for people to access that. So there's the potential emotional awareness there, but sometimes the motor is so darn loud that people don't get the messages that are underneath that. The last motor is this little triangle here. Whoops. And this, whoops, Daisy, this little triangle is called the heart center in human design, or the ego center. So it is not like the heart center in the chakra system, is not love. You know, this is willpower. This is the motor that generates the willpower to get things done out there. Now, the world tells us, you know, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Get out there, push through, make things happen, right? Only 35% of people have this defined in their chart. So willpower is only consistent for 35% of people. Only 35, I have it defined. Only 35% of us are here to kind of prove ourselves, but even then, it's in a very specific way to do with our design. Okay, so there's very specific correlations here. These little numbers that you see inside of these centers have to do with the specific genetic characteristics that are carried within that center. There's 64 of them, 64 numbers, 64 gates, they're called. And those correlate in some way to the Chinese I Ching. Anyone who's familiar with that, there's 64 hexagrams in the Chinese I Ching. There's 64 codons in our DNA. You know, it's not a one-to-one relationship, but again, it pulls from that Chinese I Ching. The characteristics they express in each case are not necessarily the same as what you'd find if you were looking up that hexagram in the I Ching. So again, it's the synthesis. And yeah, so gate 21 up here, this is the biologic correlate is the heart. Gate 51 is the gallbladder. Gate 26 is the thymus. Gate 40 is the stomach. So no wonder, right? We have so many people out there pushing themselves. No wonder we see so many heart problems and gallbladder problems and digestive problems and immune system problems, right? This is one of the centers that really has a big impact in terms of our health and how it operates. And when I get into your charts, Kitty and Amy, we'll bring in some more qualities of the ego center, the heart center. Then we talked about the root. It's a motor and pressure center. If we go up to the top, this is the other pressure center, the head. So we're like in a pressure sandwich, right? We've got the adrenalized pressure from below saying, do, the drive. And then we've got the head center, the pressure to think, right? To be inspired. And only about 30% of people have the head center defined. So most people that have it open, it means there's extra pressure on them. Actually, when I explain how the white centers work or the undefined centers work. But yeah, it's that pressure to think and to inspire, right? And we need that driving down. The other two awareness centers, so we talked about the solar plexus as one awareness center, emotional awareness. We have opposite it, the splenic center, and this is one we don't see in the chakra system. Even though it's called the splenic center, don't think it's just the spleen. It is about the immune system. It is the primitive survival center, survival, health, well-being. How do we continue our species? It operates in the moment by moment. What's the awareness, right? It's like that fight, flight, freeze, like in the moment. What's going on? What's going on? Is it healthy for me or not? Is it healthy for me or not? Am I going to survive or not? Right? So every plant, every animal has a has a splenic center, may or may not be defined. And it's one of the reasons why I'm someone who has this undefined in my chart. It's not consistent or reliable for me. So going out in nature is so great. Those that know me from the Academy for the Soul know that I also do a lot of intuitive work around nature and the nature spirits and activations with people around that. So yeah, it's so healthy for me to be out around the plants and getting that definition from them. It gives me a sense of feel good. Then we've got the ajnas, the mental awareness center. So this is the seat of the mind along with the head center. So it's about conceptualization and analyzing, formulating pros and cons, right? One thing about the mind and why we don't use it for decision making in human design is because the mind always needs a reference point. There's a this and a that, right? So the mind goes ping, 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 back and forth. And so, yeah, it can be a beautiful instrument to support us, but it's not where we want to be making our decisions from. The other centers that we have, this one in the center, this diamond-shaped one is called the G center. It's the letter G. We don't know why it's named that. That was just the information Ra got. This is the G center. And this would be closer to the heart center in the chakra system. It's about love, identity, direction in life. And so, yeah, it's where we find the qualities that are related to that. And then finally, we've got the throat center, which just like in the chakra system is communication and manifestation. And everything wants to get to the throat, right? Everything wants to be expressed, whether it's your thoughts coming down or whether it's the drive coming up and the various information and characteristics and qualities that you have in your own chart. Everything wants to get to the throat. Everything wants to be expressed. So all roads, just like all roads lead to Rome, all roads lead to the throat here. So those are the centers. And then when you've got a gate on one side, one center, and its opposite gate in the other center is defined, you get what's called a channel. The two meet up. And sometimes they'll be all black, which means that the two gates are activated on your personality side. So they're conscious to you. Things on your personality side are conscious to you. When I talk about these qualities, you'll be conscious of them. Yep, I know that's me. The things that are, sometimes you'll have channels that are all red. Let me bring up my chart because I get lots of all red channels. So like this one, it means that it's unconscious, but you can become aware of it and observe it. But it just kind of, it expresses itself and it's like, okay, there goes my ego talking again. And then you might have some that are red and black. So they're not fully conscious to you. So again, they just, whoa, they're expressing themselves and you're kind of aware of it, but you might be like, where does that come from? Right? Because it's sitting there on the body side. And then you'll see some things that are red and black. And that just means that that characteristic, that quality exists both, it got activated on both the personality side and on the design side. So for me, this gate 40, here it is over.
Song number 2, $2,000. Let's get right in it. You ready? Hit it.
There we go. So gate 40 over here on the personality side, and then I've got gate 40 over on my design side as well. Some charts you'll see, like they might have the same gate activated, that same genetic characteristic will show up. I've seen as many as like 5 times in a chart, like exclamation point to that particular genetic characteristic that that person has. What else do I want to say? Sometimes you'll see a gate that doesn't have, it's in a white center and it's just kind of hanging there. We call those dormant gates. They are your nurture. So the things that are in a channel or hanging off a colored in center, a defined center, again, they're consistent, they're reliable for you, they're always on. The ones that are hanging off a white center, they're inconsistent and reliable. You'll nurture them over time when either a planetary transit turns on that center or someone comes into your aura that has that center defined, they'll turn that on and you'll get to learn about that quality and integrate it over your life. Let's see. Yeah. So again, if it's white, inconsistent, unreliable, this is where you're taking in. This is where you're a receiver. This is where the not self mind has its playground. And so it's a place of wisdom, but boy, it's also a place that the not self mind can lead you down the garden path. Because what happens is the mind looks at what you are, you know, all these channels, all these things that are turned on, it kind of goes, yeah, 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 yeah. But all the white, it's like, but we need to be that. We're missing that. We're not complete, which isn't true at all. Again, we are all a different part of that cosmic fabric. We're all here to be our individual, unique selves. And so, yeah, we need the mind to get on board with that and get the wisdom from the open centers. Because what happens, for example, I have this open, this undefined root center. Remember, it's about drive, doing, right? So I definitely remember this in my younger years. I'm the one that's going to be rushing around faster than anyone else, getting things done. Because what happens is when someone comes into my aura that has it defined, I take it in and the open centers amplify and distort a little bit. So yeah, so I'll have even more drive than the person who's next to me that has it defined. And I'm just like running around trying to get things done. I just want to get the pressure off. Like, what is with all this pressure? That's how my not self mind interprets it. Oh, this pressure, we got to get this off. This is not this, you know, this is it's all amplified. What do? We got to get this pressure off. Run around, get things done. You can be a fantastic worker if you have an open root center. When I let go of that, when I just say, oh yeah, that person, they're sure under a lot of pressure, then I can get the wisdom. I can know who handles stress really well, who doesn't, and then I can use it to my advantage. If I do have something I need to get done, yeah, let me call in my friend who's got the the defined root center to come into my aura, and then that's just going to help me in that period of time get that done. So that's how the open centers work. They take in and they amplify. And so let's take a little tour here. So I thought I would start with Amy, with your chart, because you are a generator. I remember I said that about 66% or so of the population are generators, and that just means you have a defined sacral center. There's the types, they're called types. So you're a generator type. There's 4 different types, and it refers to the aura that's generated. Sometimes out there, I'm hearing people talk about there being 5 types. That's not correct. It's about the aura. They're looking at when you're a generator, there can be 2 different, let's call it 2 different ways of being a generator. There's a classic generator, which Amy is what you are. You have a defined sacral center, but there's no motor that has a pathway directly to the throat. Okay, you've got a pathway to the throat, but it's from the G center, which is not a motor, right? If you look at my chart, I've got a pathway from a motor to the throat. In fact, I've got pathways for 3 motors to make their way up to the throat. Okay, so I'm a manifesting generator is my type. You're a classic generator. It just means for you that where I can go from my response to manifesting, I can go to that a little bit faster. Your process is going to be a little more step by step. You're going to hit plateaus along the way. Okay. So when the sacral is defined, the sacral mechanically, how it operates is it responds to life. And there's so many things to respond to, right? So it responds to questions, and it especially likes yes or no questions. It responds to the plants wilting. It responds to the weather forecast. There's always things to respond to. So the aura of a generator or a manifesting generator, it's open, it's porous. I almost think of it as an amoeba aura. It's out there like wrapping itself around things. Ooh, is there something to respond to here? And so that's what we call your strategy. Your strategy is based on response. So wait to respond. No initiating. Okay, we're all out there told initiate, go out there, make things happen. There is a type called manifester, and they're only 10% of the population. They're the ones who are designed for initiating. The rest of us have to be, there's some kind of waiting that has to occur. So for you, it's wait to respond. That's your strategy. And what that does is it reduces your resistance. It reduces the resistance to what you want to get done in life. And it helps you to use your energy efficiently. You're not here to respond to everything. You're here to respond to the things that are aligned with your wiring, not to run around doing everybody's stuff, right? Otherwise, woo, there's burnout. So, yeah, so that's the first thing, is being this generator type, waiting to respond. Now, there's also what's called your decision-making authority. How do you make decisions? Now you've got something to respond to, something's come in. Do I do something about it? Someone's asked me a question. Is it something I want to do or not? It's not from the mind. The sacral center, its vortex of energy will either, it's going to give you a yes, no response. And it could be, often it just comes right out the voice. You know, or It could be the whole body getting pulled towards something. I know for me, like I can get this up and forward in my belly kind of feeling. So you have to kind of figure out what it is for you. Unfortunately, as children, most of us get trained out of our sacral response. When we go, oh, that's not polite, you know, don't do that. And so we suppress that sacral response. And now we need to get back in touch with it again, because it's very good. It's just mechanically going, And what it's saying to again are things that are aligned with your design. And that's going to help you to use your energy really wisely. The decision-making strategy, though, is a little bit different. There's a priority order. So anybody that has the solar plexus defined, the emotional center defined, that is their decision-making authority. And the decision-making is, there's no truth in the now. Allow the emotional wave to pass through before you make a decision. It's a slower decision-making process. So I got something to respond to. It's not just the sacral response, because the sacral response is going to change depending on where you are in your emotional wave. And so it gives you perspective, right? If you say something, yes to something in the high of your emotional wave, when you go down, you might be going, oh, why did I say yes to that? Right? Or you go down in the low of your emotional wave, you say no to something, and then later on you're like, oh, why didn't I say yes to that? Right? And so by waiting until you get to more neutral, it gives you clarity. And the sacral response will feed into it with its but you will never have certainty. This is my decision making. You're going to just get clear. You're going to get as clear as you can get when you get to neutral. Okay. And then you'll have your response then. Some decisions aren't very emotional. It doesn't take very long. Right? And other decisions are very emotional. It took me over a year. When I kind of knew, like, pretty sure I got to sell my condo, time to move, but it took over a year for me to get really clear. Yeah, time to go. Okay. So you just got to wait. And people will wait for your energy. It's valuable. When it's the right thing, they will wait. So you just have to get good at saying, yeah, can I get back to you on that? At minimum, any of you that, you know, run your chart and you see this defined, you want to at least sleep on it, but know that it can take longer. Okay. And then again, you're not going to be wasting your energy. There's always going to be other things to respond to in the meantime. You know, those daily, day-to-day tasks to support you. So yeah, so those are always the big things for people to start experimenting with their strategy and their authority, their decision-making authority, and getting the mind to get on board with that. When we look at your actual definition, your channels, things that are connected. So here we can see, we'll start with the root. We know the root is about drive, the pressure to do. And it's connected up through this. Since this is an individual channel, it's a channel of mutation up to the sacral center. Sacral is the work center. So we know that there's going to be a drive to work, and it could be working on stress, right? It could go either way with those or both. And we call these three channels that go up here format channels because they have an impact on the full chart. So when you have the channel of mutation like this, it operates in a pulse that comes through, and then everything could change in your life. It might or it might not, right? You still have to, even when the pulse comes through, you still got to use your strategy and authority to determine whether it's time to actually make the change. The pulse might come through and you might go, nope, get a no to it. But people in your aura, it can really throw them off, because that impulse actually might get them to change. And that's part of what you bring. That's part of your wiring. You just bring this mutative effect on other people. The pulse comes through you. You might change something, and then woo, everybody else's world around you has to change. Or someone's passing through your aura on the street and something just clicks for them, right? So that's part of the mutative potential that you bring in your wiring. You've also got the sacral center connected to the splenic center. So without even knowing what that channel means, you know that it's going to be something to do working on health and well-being in some way. And this channel, it's the mirror to this one over here. This is part of how our genes express ourselves, right? On this side, the genes are going, make more, make more, make more. We got to survive as a species. And on this side, it's going, okay, we made them. Now we got to look after them. So, all the splenic center is very responsible for like our healthcare system, education, law, justice, all those things that help us progress as societies. And so this is a channel that's very caring, that cares about people, right? It's caring in your way, though. With this individual channel here, I mean, the way that you care could be very different than other people, or it could just change. Pulse comes through. Oh, wait a minute. I got to change the way that I'm caring here for others. Oh my gosh, we got to change the healthcare system or something. Who knows? It could be on an individual level. It could be in a group, but it's some kind of way that you just naturally have a very caring personality. This actually creates in your aura trust in other people. You probably find that people just kind of naturally trust you. To help. They can kind of feel this sort of nurturing nature that you have. Then you've got the root going up to the emotional center. So there's some kind of drive, fueling of the emotions here. This is one of the, I should have said here, this is a tribal channel, this defense circuitry. This is also a tribal channel. It's a channel of synthesis. It's very sensitive to the needs of the tribe. And part of what this brings is, this is the family side of the tribe, the community side of the tribe. The other, if it was on this side, it's like the entrepreneurial side. But this is like, what do we need to change? What needs to change to improve our family, to improve our community, right? What's the pressure there? We need to change something or not, right? So it's always kind of got this transmitting out. I'm here, I'm caring, I bring through change, and I'm really sensitive to your needs, right? And here's, I think we need to change some things here in the way that our community, our family is operating. That could come through. There could be a real pressure there for change. Do you recognize those qualities in yourself?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
No, it's resonating with me a lot. I love it.
Okay, good. You've got one more channel here from the G center up to the throat center. So remember, G is love, identity, direction in life. This is a logic channel, and it's a leadership channel. And this is the channel of the alpha. Now, it's leadership, but it has to be elected leadership. So if you've got support to be leading something, you do have the ability to step, if it's correct for you. If you get your, I waited out the wave, yep, it's correct for me to do this, you can be very influential as a leader. As soon as that support, you start feeling that support being withdrawn, though, that's it. I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. So it's leading as long as there's the support there. You can really recognize what will help carry the collective. It's a collective channel into the future. Yeah. Okay. So now one of the things to note is this channel is not connected to these 3 channels. They have a way to kind of talk to each other, to operate as one life force, this mutative, caring, sensitive person. And then you've got this other part of you that's this leader part. And so when there's a split, the not self mind doesn't like that. It puts all its attention on the fastest way to bridge that split. That's where it puts its attention in terms of, you need that. And sometimes there's multiple pathways. I look for the shortest path. And so for you, it's right here in gate 46. Gate 29 is the gate of commitment, saying yes to a new experience. We call it the gate of saying yes, because you may have found you said yes to a lot of things that actually weren't correct for you in your life, right? Yes is really about the experience. Yeah, the experience that's going to serve my caring, sensitive nature and leadership. That's the kind of experience you want to go through, right? The other side of this gate is gate of serendipity, being at the right, it looks like it's being at the right place in the right time. It's love of the body. So there would be a lot of pressure from your mind there saying, you know, either, oh, I hate my body, I love my body, you know, that kind of polarity playing out. I got to be at the right place at the right time. I'm never at the right place at the right time, you know, and that's all just crazy talk. That's your mind, right? That's just not correct. But that's where the mind wants to fill that gap. And it will come, like either there'll be a planetary transit or whatever, but your design, it just means you are here to be around others. All of us are. All of us have white in our charts somewhere. And when this comes in, you know, you'll get the flow going through, but it's not meant to be there all the time. It is, your design's perfect and correct, just as it is. But just watch for that attention on the mind to this love-hate of body, or this, trying to be at the right place at the right time. You don't need to worry about that. Just follow your strategy and authority. The open centers for you. So you've got the open ego center, which is about willpower. So you don't have consistent and reliable willpower. You're not here to prove yourself, right? But there probably was a lot of time spent in your life trying to prove yourself. This is the center that I call, like, this is the center of unworthiness. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel valued. I got to prove myself. I got to work harder than everybody else to prove myself. Okay. There'll be a particular pressure for you when I look at your chart to, like, be brave, take leaps of faith. And that's, again, it's just not self-mind talk. Okay. So you're not here to make promises. You don't have to prove yourself. You're wired perfectly as you are. The people that are correct for you will call you out, you know, they'll call on you for your talents. You'll get to express those out. But yeah, you don't ever have to, in fact, you should not make promises. You just do the best you can. I'll just do the best I can. One of my instructors, when I went through my programs, both her and her husband have open ego centers. They took anything with promise out of their vows when they got married. Because they knew it wasn't correct. Okay. The open head center, again, you take in and amplify other people's mental pressure. So you could end up running around trying to answer everybody's questions. I'll answer that, I'll answer that, I'll answer that, right? Is it correct for you? Did you follow your strategy and authority? Most times you can say, I don't know, right? And people will go find someone else. But there's a real pressure there to, answer people's questions and get that pressure off. The Ajna Center, here, the trap is to try and be conceptually certain. I mean, you're here to take in all sorts of inspirations. You're here to take in all sorts of concepts, all sorts of different things, not to grab onto any of them, but the mind, you know, it's concerned with looking smart and, I got to show that I'm certain. Nah, you're not designed for that. You're just here to, oh, that's a neat concept. And then you can know with the head who handles stress and pressure well, mental pressure, you know, wow, who's got really juicy concepts out there and which ones really aren't that great. So yeah, that's the wisdom that can come through there. And then, you also have this, your costume you wear in the world, it's a heretic investigator. So you're somebody who really likes to investigate things, right? Kind of go internal and investigate.
Definitely.
But you can also universalize out in a very practical way. That's part of your sphere of influence. You're more influential with strangers than with friends. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true, I think.
So yeah, don't worry about that. If you have another family member, they might actually be a fourth line. Looking at here, the fifth line and the first line here in your profile. Like I'm a fourth line, so I'm more influential with family and friends. You're more influential with strangers. Okay, everybody has their thing. And
That's true.
you will always have people coming up to you wanting things from you. You are not here to cater to everyone, right? You live in a projection field. It gets kind of hard to know who you are and for other people to get to know you because they're always projecting on you. And that's part of there's a seductive quality to someone with a fifth line. So you really have to use your strategy and authority, because if you try and give them what they're asking for and it's not correct for you, it'll damage your reputation. And if you give what they're asking for and it was correct for you, it'll enhance your reputation. But got to be practical. Okay. Your super cognitive power too that supports your decision making is touch. You're very good with touch. Information come through for you when you touch things.
Okay.
The energy of things. You know, if you're trying to select something to eat, you will get a lot of information just touching. You could probably go into a store once you get, into this, and like you will know which are the ripe, fruits and which ones are good by touch. All sorts of information comes through for you for touch.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So any questions?
Oh boy. No, I mean, I'm sure I'll have some later, but right now I'm just like taking it all in. But no, I think it I mean, yeah, there's a lot there. And sometimes these things, but you don't really put them into words. So some of the things, like when you said you're more influential with strangers, I mean, that is like so true.
Yeah.
That's always been true for me, but I guess I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So
to take the pressure off, right? So if you don't seem as influential with family and friends, instead of getting frustrated about it, you can just be, this is not my sphere of influence, it's okay.
Okay. So you talk about my strategy and my authority. So my strategy is to wait to respond, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I wrote it down, but so I'm just asking.
That's correct.
Because that will, just wait to respond. And my decision making is my authority, right?
Your decision making is your authority. Yeah. Wait for
and that's the yes or no. So it's a yes or no type thing you said. But I got to let the emotional thing go.
Yeah.
And then it becomes clear, yes or no.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right.
So no spontaneous decisions unless it's life and death.
I don't know if I've ever made one.
You do have a defined.
No, I have made them.
You do have a defined splenic center, so if a car is charging at you, you're likely going to jump out of the way. It's consistent and reliable there. I got to survive. Okay. But that's not how you make decisions.
Yeah.
It's over here. So yeah, that's the basics of that. So you can see, right, the things when I tell you about yourself, you're like, yeah, I know that. I know these things about myself. And then it's like, okay, that's what I'm here to express out in the world. And the not self things, that the mind's been grabbing onto. Oh my gosh, I'm not here to prove myself. Now you can start letting those things go. So for me, it's
that's
even we can
perfect.
go even deeper, but it gives you that starting point to say, oh my gosh, yeah, I don't have to worry about showing that I'm certain anymore. I'm not here for that. Like, I don't have to run around.
I'm glad to hear that. That is, I think that is some pressure that I had put on myself a lot of times.
Yeah.
The pressure to prove myself. And
Very strong. Yeah.
Yes. But I can let it go, darn it, and I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's right. Ooh, let it go.
Exactly.
Start singing the Frozen song, Kitty. Let it go.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So this is a good contrast because when we look at Kitty's chart, remember the first
Of
thing I
course.
said I looked at is do you have defined sacral center or not? And Kitty does not. Her sacral center is open. So we know that she's not a generator type. She's one of the other types. And so I know that she's not a manifestor. A manifestor, yes, it has an open sacral, but a manifestor has one of the motors, has a pathway to the throat. Okay, she does have a motor defined, but it doesn't go all the way to the throat. So this is a type called a projector. There is one other type called reflector, and that's everything is open. They have a very special, they're only about 1.35%, I think, of the population. They have a specific role to play. But yeah, so about 22% of people are projectors. This is a new type. This type didn't really exist before that mutation happened in 1781. Manifestors used to kind of be the leaders, right? They were great for building infrastructure. They kick things off. You do this, you do that, right? They're here to do. Now we want to become our differentiated selves. We want to become our true selves, not the homogenized version that's still being promoted out there. And so one of the fundamental pros or benefits or what projectors are here to do is to help lead and guide, and especially to help lead and guide one-to-one the energy types, helping us to use our energy more efficiently. And so I talked about the types being related to the aura. So the generators have that amoeba type aura. The projectors have a probing aura, and it's like zooming right in on the G center of the other. Who is this person? Right? Who are they? And getting all sorts of information, and can kind of know if they're on track with their life or not, with the open sacral center and taking in that sacral energy, can get an idea, does this person use their energy correctly or not? And the strategy for a projector is wait for the invitation. Okay, which can be real tough. It's an exercise in patience. What ends up happening is the not self, the projectors really want to be recognized for who they are, which is that wiring. And so often they'll manipulate an invitation, or they'll be the ones doing the inviting. And then they wonder why it's not working out. And the signature that things aren't working for a generator, I said frustration. For a projector, it's bitterness. For a manifestor, it's anger. For a reflector, it's disappointment. And so, yeah, to reduce resistance in your life, it's just wait for the invitation. Because the aura of a projector who's operating properly is very powerful, very penetrating. It will call out the correct invitations. But it's something you have to experiment with and learn about. It's an energetic invitation. It can be a literal formal invitation. You know, Kitty, would you like to da 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 da? Or you might feel this energetic, at a very subtle level, this energetic opening, right? That's this invitation energetically. And so, yeah, it's for you then, wait for the invitation, and then we can see open solar plexus. So I said, right, first thing, anyone who has a defined solar plexus, that's number one priority for decision making. Wait out the emotional wave. 50% of people should be waiting out the emotional wave. How many people out there in the world are waiting out their emotional wave? Not very many. Next priority is sacral for a generator that doesn't have the solar plexus defined. It would just be that yes, no response. And then third priority is the splenic center. And remember I said splenic center operates moment by moment, in the moment, yes, no, yes. And it's a very small voice, and it only speaks once. And it could just be like the hairs standing up on end. It could, you could actually hear something. You could just get this sensation in your body. So you have to kind of figure out what that is for you, because it doesn't talk again. Remember, it's moment by moment. So in that moment, someone asks a question, you got it. It's a yes or a no. 10 minutes later, it might be something different. So sometimes people with splenic authority can seem a little fickle. You said no to that before. Yeah, well, it's a yes now. So you have to just, that's the way it is. When you operate moment to moment, just being present in the now, you know, splenic authority, that's how it operates. Yeah, so figuring out what that little voice is. So here we see root going up to the splenic center. So we know there's a drive to work on well-being, a drive to work on health. This particular channel is it's a channel of struggle, but don't take that negatively. This is an individual channel. The struggle is to be yourself. The struggle here is to find value and purpose in life. This is part of what you transmit out, and in your aura, it's very provoking. It provokes others to struggle for their purpose in life. And this channel, in fact, you've got two individual channels here. Both of these channels, we got 3 channels that we say carry deafness, because they kind of filter out. To be able to stay to your individual self, you can't take in what everybody else is saying to you. So don't be surprised, Kitty, sometimes there are people like, I told you that before, and you're going like, no, you didn't. Well, they might have. They might have. Okay, you just filtered it out because it was not part of what you needed to be your individual self. So there's a kind of a filtering process.
This is very, very cool. And I'm already told you I'm going to be following up to find out more, but I want to leave it some time for people to ask questions and stuff. And the only question I had about mine is I noticed both the head, those are both lit up on my chart.
Yeah. So let me speak quickly to that. You've only about 30% of people have the head defined. So you are someone who brings inspiration. The specific channel you have is very scientific mind. This channel of logic, right? It wants to come up with answers. Now, the answers might not be the correct answers at this point. Hasn't gone through the full circuit yet, but there's answers. They might be right, might not, but I'm going to investigate. If something's off in the pattern, can be a little bit suspicious. I don't know if that's right. Like, let's check this out. And you're going to do your investigation. And then this individual channel is a channel of structuring. It's very individual again. It brings through your unique insights, just come through. But again, you don't want to speak them out until you have the invitation. We call this channel genius to freak, because if you just speak, we call it verbal gunslinging. You're just going to seem freaky. Oh, that weirdo. There goes that weirdo Kitty again.
Oh, you don't understand how much I understand exactly what you're saying.
Right? And if you wait for the invitation, you say it. Oh my God, she's a genius.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is it. I also want to speak a little bit to this emotional center, since 50 have it and 50 don't. You take in and amplify about 200% other people's emotions. The not self mind wants to grab on and say they're my emotions. They're not. So you're here to be a reflector of other people's emotions, but also to be a window and let them blow through. So very empathic. They're not yours. People with this open will often be told, you're so sensitive, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? You've just been reflecting the other person's emotions. They're the ones whose emotions are going like this. You're like the lake.
Yeah,
They're
no,
the
that I get as a child, that was, you're so sensitive, you're so sensitive. It's nice to be older because I do recognize they're not mine.
Yeah.
That's them. This is me. I've gotten much better at that. That's been a learning piece. So
Yeah.
I want to open it up though for people to ask questions, because this is absolutely fascinating. I don't know about anybody else, but this is new. So if anyone wants to ask a question, we'll definitely leave your website so that people can contact you, but I want to open it up to the floor. Anybody who wants to ask a question. Amy, can you check Facebook? Anybody
Can
here?
I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm just wondering how all the transits.
Can you
in the cos-
identify who you are?
Mary Johnson.
Hey, Mary.
Okay, Mary.
Bye. Just how the transits and everything going on cosmically and universally is affecting our charts at the moment, because I'm a projector. You've done my chart.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it changes, right? But we just came out of a full week of this individual channel, very provocative channel, very like find your passion in life. You got to find your passion, very emotional channel. We had it for about 6 days. Right now, there's no full, if I look at just now and you only look at the black side, what's actually here now. Oh, we do have one full channel right now. So this is like sit down and focus and concentrate, and either you're going to be super restless or if you don't, understand how that operates, or yeah, it's actually going to support sitting down and focus, and it intensifies, it brings an intensity to everything in someone's chart. But you also have to look at, in your own chart, let's say you have gate 35 and the transit's bringing in 36, the full channel is getting activated now. All of a sudden you're you're an emotional being, for example. Okay.
Okay,
So
what about
day-to-day, that's kind of how the transits operate.
what about just going ahead a month for the 8-8?
I'd have to look and see.
Oh, you don't know. I thought it was easily accessible to you.
No,
That's
you have to look
okay.
at which planets make which hookups. So yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at the.
That's okay. No worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can tell you what planets make the hookups. Because I'm looking at them.
Well, in
that's
human
not-
design, though, which gates are hooked up?
That's right. But it's also full moon, just so you know that part.
Yeah.
Or
So
new-
the
it's a
month,
new
for
moon.
example, we're going to have this 2946. You got to go into a new experience.
Yeah.
You got to commit to a new experience, right?
Yeah,
If
the
you
new
don't have
moon.
that channel yourself, that's, if it's, you always use your strategy and authority. So no matter what, the one thing that will kind of be your saving grace is your strategy and authority. These things coming in, they're homogenizing, right? But it might be correct for you to enter a new experience. Only your strategy and authority will tell you that. Otherwise, it's like, oh yeah, I feel this urge. I don't have to act on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The only questions I saw on Facebook, Kitty, were just how to get your chart done, and we're going to put that information in there for anybody who's interested. So, so Jackie asked that, and we'll definitely leave some information, Jackie, so that you can get a hold of Margo.
Anyway, it's absolutely fascinating. Like I said, I'll be calling you going, okay, we got to finish this because, but it's, anyone else have any questions that they want? I don't know about them, but of course my science mind is going, all of these.
You know, when she was talking, Kitty, I'm like going, oh yeah, she nails you. That's you.
Yeah, and the other thing too is once you have your foundation and if you experiment with your strategy and authority, there are other types of readings. You can do an incarnation cross reading, which is more about your purpose in life. It's taking a deep look at the sun-earth configuration, 70% of who you're here to be. And the stage that you're, the environment around you is a signpost. There's cycles readings, right? The Saturn return around age 30, the Uranus opposition around age 40, the Chiron return, and your wounding. We can look at that too. A little bit more specifically, because it goes right down to the gate level in human design, what the core wound is. So around age 48 to 50, the Chiron, second Saturn return around age 58 or so.
Just finished it.
Yeah. So yeah, what are the influences coming in, and from a human design perspective for you?
Yeah.
So
There's
though, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so this would be what you do first, right?
Yeah.
You do this first, and then you would build on it with other charts.
That's right. Because your strategy and authority, if you're not following that, if you haven't experimented with that, the other stuff is just fodder for the mind, right? It's not going to come into fruition, right? Then your mind, ooh, I'm this, I'm that, ooh, I'm this. Like, it's just your mechanics, right? And so you want it to really be coming from the truth of you, not just from now the mind grabbing onto it. I mean, you can get down into dietary regime. There's goes very, very deep if I turn into the other, every line, every gate has 6 lines. Every line has 6 colors. Every color there's 6 tones, 5 bases. So there's 1,080 combinations to every gate. Every single gate has 1,080 variations when we go really deep. And so there's more and more information. What's a correct environment for you? What's your mind's motivation? What's your view? And people start going into that before they've really established their strategy and authority. And then they wonder why they're ending up frustrated, anger, bitter, disappointed. Human design doesn't work. Yeah, because they never established their foundation.
Well,
Okay.
I'm absolutely.
Jackie did ask a question. Oh, go ahead.
I know, I think
I
it's
can't see
absolutely
you, Kitty.
fascinating, so. Go ahead, what's Jackie's question?
Jackie asked a question. She said, is cosmic changes the only way it changes, or not through personal work or growth?
Your
So
design,
things change.
yeah, your design is your design, right? This is your wiring. Now, influences will come in. People will pass through your aura and their design will impact your design. So I do relationship readings, for example, too. But it's not you. Your design is perfect. You're wired exactly for what you're here to be, to transmit and to receive. And so you don't want to change it, right? We can't operate in the global whole without everybody actually expressing their own individual uniqueness.
We picked those things when we came in. That's for a reason. Yeah. Definitely
Okay.
for a reason. So does anybody who's joined us on the Zoom have any questions? We try to, when we have speakers, we try to hold to the hour just because we thank them so much. They give of their time, and we will be putting this forward with, but if anybody has a last minute question, like I said, I know I'm going to be in contact because I just want to finish hearing, no surprise, Amy and I were different. So, and that's why we work
Yes, we
together
are.
well. So
Can I ask
Right.
a question?
go ahead.
Hi, Margo. This is Shirley. You had said, commented on my chart, I'm one of the 30% open headspace. I don't have my chart with me, but I remember that, and I didn't quite understand too much about it.
So what I probably said then is that you're like Kitty, that your head center is defined, and only 30% of people have a defined head center. And as soon as your head center is defined, you know the ajna is defined. So you have a consistent, reliable way that you process, I'd have to see the channels, a consistent, reliable way you process mental stress and come to realizations about things. And when it's operated in a healthy way, you can be very inspirational to others. On the other hand, if you're under a lot of mental stress, you need to understand we have to be responsible with our energy, that you are bringing that mental stress to other people and they're amplifying it. Right?
Oh my God.
Same with me, right? I'm emotional. So if I'm in the down of my wave, the responsible thing for me to do with my friends, that I'm out with, is say, look, I'm going down my wave because I'm going to bring all that anger, sadness, whatever it is that I'm going through in the low of my wave, they're going to amplify it 200% if they're open.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's
so
why
that's part of the other part of understanding your design, is understanding, you have an impact on others and others have an impact on you.
Yeah. And that's why when they don't ask for your help and you help them, then you get in trouble.
That could happen, right? But did you follow your strategy and authority, right? Are you running around helping people that haven't asked for your help?
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So unless you're a manifester, I don't know. I can't remember what you are, but even then the manifester
I know.
I
have to follow up with this. You and I got disconnected, so I'll follow up with you and we can do it. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Well, Margo, we just want to say thank you so much. It's so interesting. It's a whole new level in this spiritual community. I'm quite sure many of our people, and as they're watching this in the repeat, will not have heard of it. So we will make sure that we get your information out there. And thank you so much for coming and talking to us. We so appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So much.
And thank you all who are
was
participating.
fascinating.
It was fascinating. All those who are participating, I'll be following up with you, Margo. I laughed when I saw the head part lit up and Amy's not. I'm like, oh, this is just us. This is exactly us. So,
yeah, I'm down at the bottom and you're up at the top, Kitty. I mean, it could be.
But anyway, thank you. And I'm sure there will be people that are following up with you. Thank you all who came to participate tonight. We're going to turn off the recording and go off the live. Thanks very much. Goodbye
Bye,
from
Conrad.
Intuition of the Soul.